The Nexus Academy floated in the void between stars, a massive station where the galaxy's finest came to train in the art of interstellar warfare and diplomacy. Commander John Verath stood at the observation deck, watching the new batch of cadets shuffle through the airlock in their crisp gray uniforms. Most were wide-eyed, clutching their datapads like lifelines. The usual mix: Krillians with their chitinous armor, Saurosians with their triple-jointed limbs, a few Terrans, and one human girl who caught his eye for all the wrong reasons. She didn't look impressed, she didn't look scared, she just looked bored. Cadet Aliana Chen, the manifest read when John pulled it up on his neural interface. Human, Earth Colony Proxima Station, standard aptitude scores, no special commendations. Standard. The word tasted like ash in his mouth because he'd seen the sealed council directive that morning. The one with crimson priority markers. The one that made his blood run cold. Subject: Aliana Chen. Classification: Omega-level threat. Observation protocol: extreme caution. Do not engage directly. Historical markers suggest 87% probability match with Prophecy Archive 447 Alpha. John had read Prophecy Archive 447 Alpha. Every council officer had, buried deep in classified databases. When the daughter of Terra walks among the stars with eyes that have seen the ending, the great wheel shall turn, and what was broken shall break again. Cryptic nonsense. Except the council didn't mark things Omega level for cryptic nonsense. The girl, Aliana, moved through the orientation with mechanical precision. She answered when called upon, completed the physical assessments without breaking a sweat, and scored exactly average on every simulation. Not too high, not too low, as if she were deliberately calibrating herself to blend in. John watched her for 3 weeks. He wasn't alone. He'd noticed the Archon observers in the shadows, their multi-spectrum sensors tracking her every movement. The Council had assigned 4 agents to monitor a single cadet. Unprecedented. But Aliana gave them nothing. She was the perfect student. Respectful, competent, unremarkable. Until the Karvesh incident. The Karvesh were a warrior species, proud and brutal. Their cadet, Thrixos, stood nearly 3 meters tall, with muscles like braided titanium cables. He'd been bullying smaller cadets for days, nothing overt enough to warrant discipline, just the casual cruelty that hierarchical species inflicted on those they deemed weak. John was running combat drills in Sector 7 when it happened. The scenario was simple: navigate a derelict ship, neutralize hostile drones, extract the data core. Thrixos had cornered a Saurosian cadet in one of the dead-end corridors, using the exercise as cover to demonstrate his dominance. Aliana was supposed to be 2 decks below. The surveillance footage later showed her stopping mid-stride, head tilting as if listening to something no one else could hear. Then she moved. Not ran. Moved. The cameras struggled to track her. One moment she was in Corridor 7B. The next she traversed 3 bulkheads and a vertical shaft without using any of the access points. When John arrived, drawn by the sudden silence on the combat net, he found Thrixos unconscious on the deck. The Karvesh's exoskeleton, rated to withstand small arms fire, had been cracked in 17 places. Precise, surgical strikes that would require months of rehabilitation but cause no permanent damage. Aliana stood over him, not even breathing hard, her expression exactly as bored as it had been on day 1. "He fell," she said simply, when John demanded an explanation. The medical scan told a different story. Thrixos's injuries were consistent with someone who'd been systematically dismantled by a fighter with perfect knowledge of Karvesh physiology. The security footage had been corrupted. All 37 cameras in that sector had experienced simultaneous data corruption for exactly 90 seconds. John filed the report as an accident. He had no choice. The council directive was clear: observe, do not engage. But that night he broke protocol. He found Aliana in the observation lounge, staring out at the stars with an expression he'd never seen on her face before. Something ancient, something sad. "You should be more careful," John said, sitting down across from her. "Should I?" Aliana didn't look at him. "That's interesting advice from someone who's been watching me every moment since I arrived." John's blood chilled. "I don't know what you mean." Commander John Verath, age 34, decorated officer, survivor of the Epsilon Massacre, recipient of the Council's Silver Nova. "You have a sister on Mars and you're afraid of me." Now she looked at him, and her eyes were like looking into deep space. "You should be." "Who are you?" The question escaped before John could stop it. Aliana smiled, and it was the saddest thing he'd ever seen. "I'm exactly who the Council thinks I am. The one they warned you about. The one from the archives." "That's impossible. The prophecy is 3,000 years old. You're 22. "Am I?" She turned back to the stars. "Time is funny, Commander, especially when you've seen how it ends." John's hand drifted toward his sidearm, not to draw it, just a reflexive gesture. Aliana noticed. "I'm not here to hurt anyone, John. I'm here because I have to be. Because this," she gestured to the academy, the station, the galaxy beyond, "all of this is about to break, again, and someone needs to be here to catch the pieces." "What's going to break?" "Everything." Her voice was matter-of-fact. "In 47 days the convergence will occur, the same convergence that shattered the First Empire. The same pattern, the same cosmic alignment, the same catastrophic cascade. Your council knows it's coming. They've known for centuries. Why do you think they built this academy? Why do you think they gather the best and brightest from every species here, in this exact location?" John felt the deck tilting beneath him, though he knew it was just his perception. "You're saying this is a lifeboat." "I'm saying this is an arc. When the convergence hits, 90% of inhabited space will become uninhabitable. The gravitational anomalies, the dimensional rifts, space itself will tear. But here, at this exact point, there's a bubble of stability. Your council has been preparing for this for generations, hiding the truth, selecting who gets to survive. And you? I was there last time. 3,000 years ago, I stood on the bridge of the First Empire's flagship and watched reality unravel. I couldn't stop it then. I was young, unprepared. Her fingers traced patterns on the viewport, and John could swear he saw equations forming in the condensation. But I learned. And when the convergence came full circle, when the timeline looped back, I made sure I'd be here. At the right place, at the right time, with the right knowledge. That's insane. Is it? Aliana pulled out her datapad and called up a file. 3 days ago, there was a gravitational anomaly in the Kepler sector, 0.374 light-years from here. The Council is calling it a natural phenomenon. It wasn't. It was the first crack. In 12 days, there will be another closer. In 26 days, the dimensional boundaries will start to blur. Your people are already seeing it. The reports they're suppressing about ships arriving before they depart, about causality violations, about crew members remembering futures that haven't happened yet. John took the datapad. The data was classified, pulled from Council archives he shouldn't be able to access, but it was all there, exactly as she described. Why tell me this? Because I can't do this alone. Last time I tried to fight it by myself. I failed. This time I need allies, people who can see what's coming and are brave enough to prepare for it. She stood, and suddenly she seemed taller, older, carrying weight that shouldn't fit in a 22-year-old frame. The Council is right to be afraid of me, John. I am the one they warned you about, but not because I'm going to destroy everything. Because I'm going to save it, and that means breaking every rule, every protocol, every comfortable lie they've built their civilization on. What do you need me to do? Aliana smiled again, but this time there was warmth in it. Hope. I need you to trust me, and I need you to help me train these cadets, really train them for what's coming. Because when the convergence hits, this academy won't just be a lifeboat. It's going to be a weapon. the only weapon that can seal the rifts and save what's left of galactic civilization. Over the next 47 days, John watched Aliana transform the Academy. She did it subtly at first, suggestions in tactical meetings, adjustments to training protocols, casual comments that redirected entire curriculum paths. The council's observers grew more agitated, but they couldn't find anything concrete to act on. She was still just a cadet, still technically within regulations. But the cadets themselves began to change. Aliana had a way of finding potential in people, of pushing them past their perceived limits. The Sarosian she defended became a brilliant tactical coordinator. A Terran washout discovered he could predict energy patterns with uncanny accuracy. Even Thrixos, after recovering from his accident, developed a grudging respect for the small human who'd humbled him. John found himself believing, not just in the prophecy but in her. Aliana carried her burden with quiet grace, teaching and preparing without ever revealing the full scope of what was coming. She was building an army, one cadet at a time. When the convergence finally arrived, it came as a scream of torn reality. Space-time folded in on itself, dimensional barriers collapsed, and the stars themselves seemed to shudder. 90% of the galaxy went dark in an instant, just as Aliana had predicted. But the Academy held. And at its center, Aliana Chen stood with 300 cadets she'd personally trained, ready to do what she'd failed to do 3,000 years ago. The ancient equations she'd traced on viewports became shields of pure mathematics, holding back the chaos. The strategies she'd whispered to John became tactical doctrines that let them navigate impossible space. The potential she'd awakened in outcasts and misfits became the power that sealed the rifts one by one. John stood beside her on the command deck, watching her work miracles with nothing but determination and knowledge earned across millennia. She'd been right about everything. The Council's comfortable lies, the catastrophe, the salvation that could only come from someone who'd already lived through the ending. "You knew how this would go," John said. "Every step." "Not every step," Aliana replied, her hands dancing across holographic controls that stabilized another collapsing sector. "Last time I died in the first wave. This time." She looked at him, and for the first time since he'd met her, she looked young, hopeful. "This time we're winning." The galaxy would be smaller when the dust settled. Quieter, but it would survive. And it would remember that salvation came not from those who claimed power, but from a bored-looking cadet who joined the Academy as a nobody and left as the one who saved everything. The Council had been right to warn them about Aliana Chen, just not for the reasons they thought. She wasn't the ending. She was the beginning that came after. And